they would refer to it, from what I read, as like you had written your name in the devil's book. And when you do that, you make a deal with the devil, in that the devil, you're doing the devil a favor, so the devil's gonna like reward you with some shit, right? And that's what they claim. But all these people, of course, are like, I never I never heard of that shit, until they're like,
that should never happen, dude.
yeah, right. Like, what are you talking about, right?
Oh man,
right? And then it's all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I confess, it's actually them. I just keep confessing, no, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them. And then it's like mass hysteria, and even a person just tripping on the corner, like took a sneeze, man, you might be the witch at that point, you know?
Well, I'll start by saying, so witches have been around way longer than when the trials happened. They've been around thousands of years, even dating back to like the 900s. So these, when the Salem trials started with the two girls, the daughter and the niece of what's the dude's name? George Burroughs.
Okay.
They weren't the first ones to be accused of it, because witches have been around forever. But the trials started with these two young girls who started exemplifying symptoms that were unknown, and they were the ones accused of being witches by the townspeople. Some of their symptoms, though, which were trippy: forgetfulness, dizziness, they barked like a dog, they had visceral reactions to like prayer, or anytime someone had the Bible in their presence, body contortions, which we've seen in like other possession, incoherent speaking, headaches, of course, pinches and pokes, like they were getting poked with needles all the time, which most of the people who were showing symptoms during this period, they all spoke about being poked and pinched and feeling prodded from like a invisible source. They felt like burning skin sensation, convulsion, seizures, constant imminent fear, just feeling fearful all the time, collapsing to the floor. And yeah, they were the first ones to, super young. I forget how old they were. Were they like 10, 12, 12, 14?
They were pre-teens, and
yeah.
It was the largest. It was
9 and 11.
Oh wow. It was the largest witch hunt in American history. 200 people were on trial.
Literally.
And then 19 were killed. I forget how many were hung, but there was one dude who was crushed to death.
Oh, dude.
Was that on purpose? I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, they put this like they would kind of like just bury rocks on you, you know, and in order to get you to confess.
Right.
So would they have them like between two pieces of wood or something like that, and they keep stacking rocks? Or how?
I've seen
stoned to death. It sounds like
no, not stoned
like
to death.
weight,
It's like
right?
weighted to death. Where like I've seen drawings where it's like a board, like you're laying on the ground, and then there's a board on top of you, and they're stacking stones on top of that board. That's
some savage archaic shit right there, bro.
They did, yeah, dude. They did like medieval shit to these ladies. Like a lot of it had to do with like kind of like what we would describe as waterboarding. They did that to them because a lot of them drowned to death. They'd put like weighted shit on them, put them underwater, bring them up, ask them if they would basically plead guilty to being a witch.
Confess. Yeah.
They'd say no, and then they'd dunk them. And if they came up and they said yeah, they'd dunk them until they would die. But none of the ones that were executed actually admitted to being a witch. They all refused. All the way until their death. But they would put they put basically like a janky rigged version of like an Iron Maiden on their face. They would strap around like their stomach, their upper stomach sternum area with like a spiked, sort of like a spiked belt, and then tighten it, crushing their, like they do. Their forms of torture were fucking crazy, dude. Medieval shit.
Yeah, but I wanna go back a little bit here because absolutely this shit is nuts. Like the I feel like it's a really mass hysteria in many ways. Everything that I understand about this situation, but before we go all deep in that, and I want to just go back to the origins of this because my understanding was that the origins of how this all started was that, okay, let's think, go back pre-United States, think of England, all this stuff. During the time that a lot of these people came over from England, you had a big influence of Catholicism in England, okay? Now, there was this branch of people who wanted to start kind of anti-Catholicism. They called it Puritanism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Puritanism is pretty strict. You follow this certain interpretation of the Bible, and it is what it is. And of course, one of those interpretations of the Bible, there's a verse about witches. It's a very isolated incident, but they took that seriously, okay? Now, when they were having kind of a war over there, both civilly and with France simultaneously, a lot of them ventured over here. And where Salem witch trials took place, and you got to remember there's the Salem village and the Salem town, okay?
Yeah.
And so they had beef with one another. That's a whole nother thing. But that was a big settlement of the Puritanists. Puritists? I don't know the word. Puritans. There you go. Thank you. And so they brought that over here, that culture. And so here's a big thing is that what happened? They just gonna come over here. Fool's gonna come over here, this piece of land. There's people already living here, right? Native Americans all over the place. And in specific, right, that area in Massachusetts and whatnot, where all this stuff happened, the big tribe was the Watanubi tribe. Dang.
Good luck.
Yep. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not gonna try to pronounce it.
Okay. Well,
I'll roll
but you
with
know what
it.
I'm talking
That
about.
sounds good to me.
Okay. So they interpreted their culture, all this stuff as they worship the devil. Look at how they do their thing. And they come over here and they're like, okay, that's like our enemy kind of, and they had little deals. And then one day this will happen. They brought the several Native Americans over to do a trade deal. Killed the men, stole the women, stole the kids, put them into slavery, right? So then, of course, those guys are hella pissed. The Native Americans, we're gonna go come fuck you up, right? And they did. And one night, in one particular village, I'm not the Salem village, or somewhere around there. Maybe it was Salem, I can't remember, but they got the word. These fools came, killed all these fools in the house, all the Puritans. But one person, one girl, she was a little girl. She's like 3-4 years old. She survived. And it is my understanding that years later, a decade later, whatever it is, that she was the original one that brought up the Salem stuff, because back then the deal, the treaty, the peace deal between them that they had established for a while went to shit, and they started all going to war again, and she started tripping. Between
Salem village and the town?
No, the Native Americans and just the local folks. And so when that happened,
just checking, got you.
Yeah, when that happened, she was
I knew that.
So there's, I don't know, you guys know the story, I hope, but she blamed it on a slave of the top Puritan guys in the town. The slave was from like Barbados or something like that, and she looked kind of like Native Americans. And of course, she denied, and that was the beginning. That was the very beginning of how this all started. Is the association of, it's like trauma from when you're a kid, and you associate it with someone else that looks like the people that you say worship the devil from that culture. That's my theory.
That's what kicked off in 1692, early 1692.
Yeah, it was the original. It was the very first thing that started this.
They didn't. I mean, if they didn't like somebody, if you acted funny, any outcast, anyone that didn't comply or go along with the daily in and outs of their village, dude, the easiest thing to do is basically like, if I don't like somebody or I think you're weird, boom, you accuse them, and they immediately were just like, yep, guilty until proven innocent. Fucking put them on trial. We're gonna lock you up during the whole trial in like the worst circumstances ever. Their little the jails they kept them in were fucking wretched. And then we're not going to believe you until you either confess or you die. It's fine.
I think that they're just a product of their environment, and I think that, you know, it's easy for us to look back and think like you know, why would they do that? And they're fucking idiots, and you know. But honestly, if the four of us were back there, we'd probably be like in the crowd chanting, "Burn them! Fuck yeah, burn them!" You know what I mean? Burn them. Like, I mean,
looking now,
right? And those trials were, you get into like the trials. There was people like losing their minds as they're there, right?
Oh yeah,
whole town was watching.
I mean, dude, like, you know that like when I was reading this shit, the only one thing that just kept standing out to me was like every symptom these people are having are like classic symptoms for somebody who has like, you know, paranoid schizophrenia. Like the feelings of burning on your skin, the feelings of like pins and needles, like it's like they're like
that, you know, that terminology didn't even exist back then.
Sure, but like, you know what I mean? One thing that's
you're a witch.
If you look at like medieval torture and you look at like the years when like the Iron Maiden was, you know, the Spanish Inquisition, this sort of thing, and then you look at how far in the future, you know, everything the Salem witch trials were. And it's interesting to consider how fast they would go from relatively progressive in comparison to these, you know, medieval methods. But as soon as something is relatively based off a religion, their brains just turn off and they go right back to the shit that they were doing way back when. It's interesting. Like, it's like religion, boy, dude, bane of the world, man. Like,
well, and that was the point I was kind of trying to make with the whole shit from England, is that they tried to branch off, right? And they kind of had a civil war, and Puritans, there was kind of even Steven in many ways, but they all wanted to come here, right? And there's some of the early settlements in the Northern Americas, and they bring that concept here, in the fact that, okay, if something resembles the devil, then we're going to take the passage out of the Bible that says, nope, you can't do the magic witchcraft stuff. That's a bad thing to do, right? And literally say, oh, that one thing, you know, it's extremism, honestly.
Jumping, exactly. So they just go, we don't like something, we have to rid of it. Get it the fuck out of here.
And that was the whole thing. It's like, my excuse me. You know, the thing is like, I bet that very first person was like having post-traumatic syndrome disorder, and then they were like, what's wrong with you? Yo, you got the devil in you. And you're like, no, I don't. It's those fools, right? And then the first two people she named was these two girls. They're like, one was like homeless outcasts of society, and the other one was some other like person that's not like, oh, we all think they're tight or whatever. And then from there it just snowballed, right? And
wait, what do you mean?
From
first
the
two?
Yeah, so from the slave woman that she was a slave, okay. They pressured her hella hardcore, like you're saying, like, you're either going to confess that the devil, like, they would refer to it, from what I read, is like, you had written your name in the devil's book, and when you do that, you make a deal with the devil, in that the devil, you're doing the devil a favor, so the devil's gonna like reward you with some shit. right? And that's what they claim. But all these people, of course, are like, I never I never heard of that shit. Until they're like,
that should never happen.
yeah, right. It's like, what are you talking about, right?
Oh man,
right? And then it's all of a sudden it's like, okay, I confess, it's actually them. I just keep confessing. No, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them. And then it's like mass hysteria, and even a person just tripping on the corner, like took a sneeze, man, you might be the witch at that point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you might have COVID, dude.
Oh, dude, back then, COVID, you'd be like the devil.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude, how that is. And like, what a fucking nightmare, dude.
Imagine being able to say something and accuse somebody and not really need to have any kind of weighted evidence.
Yeah, I mean,
don't touch my drum set
at all. You know, But
exactly, dude.
I get the fear though. Imagine if you grow up in a religious household, and you see this even today, dude. You see this with fanatical religious, isolated families or cults or whatever you want to call them.
ISIS.
Yeah, dude.
Taliban.
Yeah, it really is. In
imagine
many ways.
if you genuinely believed that there was some type of witchcraft that was of an evil nature, mixing in with some devil worship or something. And like, by the way, like if you look at,
what do you mean? Imagine? I believe it.
If you look at
There's
the
fucking
Wiccan,
witches,
no,
bro.
but if you look at the Wiccan
Looking at one right
religion,
now.
there's often not a whole lot. There's different types of like witches and Wiccan, and a lot of it is kind of like, you know, there's a lot of different beliefs. You know, there's not a whole lot of evil in it.
Well, it's interesting. What's interesting about that is what I understood was
wait.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So imagine like if we were back there and we genuinely believed that there was the devil in our town, in our village, and we're, you know, 2,000 miles across an ocean or 3,000 miles across an ocean, isolated in the woods, we'd be slaughtering the shit out of each other.
Fuck yeah.
Dude,
yeah, man. It's as real as it gets.
To protect your wife, your kids, you know, imagine the fear.
Yeah.
The uncontrollable fear. People weren't able, like, they didn't have Jordan Peterson on YouTube calming you down, or, you know, I mean, like, you know, they were just kind of letting their own imaginations kind of just flourish based on limited knowledge that they had access to.
Yeah, these are the same fools that built pyramids, right?
No, those were aliens.
Come on now. But you're so susceptible.
Let's be honest.
Hey, I mean, look at this. Like, your whole reality is based off your perception, right? Your perception is built from the day you're born. So if you're living here in the 1690s on the East Coast, you know, in that era, everybody they were still educated, but they also went to church. And they went to church every day. In church, you had your faith and you had your education, and this is this and this is that. And the people were able to gain power because church is based like primarily off of fear. And that's the way it's been since they gained power initially with the Vatican, you know, back when. And so there is individuals in the church that's like the basis of it is like, it's not like today where most churches that are left over today, it's kind of transitioned to actually like charity and goodwill and this and that. But like back then it was 100% power. So now you have somebody in the village, in your village, and a very small group of people who has a direct connection to the thing that you're most afraid will fuck you up, which is God. If he gets pissed off at you and he says this and that, and you have no basis. There's no libraries, no internet. There's no, you know, you don't have any like mathematicians just hanging around. This is your whole reality if you're born there. So yeah, that's right. So like, that's it, dude. Like you're going to believe this powerful individual's word. And if that person's twisted, is a twisted fuck, then like, that's a nightmare, dude. It doesn't happen to these people. He's like, yeah, this is reasonable. Put some spikes on that piece of leather, put some lace at the end of it, tie it around her chest and squeeze the fucking life out of this child.
Yeah, that'll work.
And like adults who are normally compassionate towards children, like we all are. So, okay, that's a totally reasonable thing to do to a 9-year-old. And that fucking happened, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
that's how scared people are of God.
So Yup and I were having a conversation last week or the week before. I forgot what podcast it was, but You know, like you've told us some stories that have happened in your house with your kids and stuff that you've heard. Imagine how much your attitude would change and your anger would change if you could actually place whatever's going on a physical person. You know what I
I've
mean?
done
If,
that. I've done
like,
that.
no, but like if like, okay, all
Like
this
my
stuff's
kids'
going
night
on,
terrors were based off of some like asshole sneaking in the house, something like that. You mean?
and yeah, like someone specifically cursing you and your family, and like you knew, okay, if I take that fool out, night terrors are gonna stop.
Well, I mean,
I do
That
want
would-
to. I want to point out though.
No,
that-
finish that. Oh shit.
Dude. I like that's just that grin on his face. Dude.
what's
Like
that?
he would be so like a part of him would be relieved, but a part of him would be like
What's
that-
the
that-
Huckleberry?
you would-
What's
you would
the
be happy, you know.
what's that phrase? Gobblegoop. What's what's
The gabagool. The
Fucking
gabagool.
gabagool.
Yeah.
Imagine-
if someone was cursing my
imagine-
family,
Imagine the
I would, end their
laughter
life
and
with
imagine
riches, dude.
Trying to bring your Frederick over here. Get that shit.
I mean,
out.
honestly, dudes, like if you really found out some like weird voodoo shit that somebody literally cursed your family and it caused harm to your kids, I mean, come on. Like it's not, that doesn't make me a sociopath to say that.
no, it doesn't. But that's the same
Face.
mentality.
You're racist.
That's the same mentality that they have, and you could place the same like you could see. You know, if you watch the Twilight Zone, which I'm a huge fan of, they've had episodes that have kind of highlight that what happens when you take a group and you isolate them in a neighborhood, right? And the power goes out, and conspiracy theories start to reign, and they turn on each
72
other.
hours.
Yeah. You know, it's the same thing back then, and even like post trial. So like I think 19 were hung, one person was crushed to death, and then I think 5 died in prison.
5 died in
think.
prison.
It's fucking awful, dude.
Post the trials at around, I think it was 1711, somewhere around there, the local authorities apologized, and they actually gave each of the families, I think it was like $600 or so. And then it wasn't
That's
until,
like 20 years later.
yeah, and it wasn't until the 1950s where the state of Massachusetts actually made a public apology for the Salem witch trial.
They're still doing that. They did one recently, actually, not that long ago. They're still like, they're picking people here and there. They're not doing all of them at once. Like from my understanding, it's like these 3 people, those 4 people, whatever. It's like, damn it, I keep forgetting. I want to just say real quick, part of the Puritanism, their goal was to get rid of paganism. Right. And so that goal, I feel like, is a huge part of the motivation here.
And there's paganism mixed in with Catholicism.
I mean, dude, that's a foundation of hate, is what that is. You have foundation of hate, dude. It's never gonna branch off. Like, I mean,
wait, if you talk to a Catholic, it's not, but like there's pagan traditions mixed in with Catholicism.
Halloween is pagan. Or that's kind of Celtic too. But
the Christmas tree, isn't it?
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit, you know, and it's
You're
like
wrong about that.
They were trying to get rid of that whole thing. And so I think that actually did accomplish its goal to some extent, in a sense, historically. Like right now, how many people are gonna be like, we're gonna do Christmas this year, we're gonna put up a Christmas tree and decorate it, and then actually like think like about all the history there, right? They just be like, it's Jesus and that's it, light it up, right? Or something, you know what I mean? Like there's so much more there, including this incident in the Americas, right? I mean, this is an example of that situation.
By the way, there are witch covens here in our area. I used to work with one.
Dude, there's witches all over the place, bro.
Yeah.
And they're not even, that's not even like
the witch is like kind of the wrong word though, right? People have this perception of witch, I feel like, right? Like what you're describing is not a witch.
They still use the word witch, but like it's not, they don't practice, it's not the stereotypical cartoon and movie version. But yeah, dude, there's witches that work with all of us.
I know
we probably all work with a witch.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like a legit,
it's just someone that has a strong faith and practice something habitually.
Well, yeah, I think they have understanding about our reality that maybe we cannot. I mean, think about shamans. I think of witches like shamans in many
Shaman.
ways,
A
right?
lot of psychics will equate with witches.
Yeah, I can think that realm, that's a thing that exists.
Yeah,
and don't try to
for
deny
sure.
it, because this shit happens. Let's go eat the cactus in the middle of the desert.
Well, I was gonna deny it, but I'm not anymore.
Well, it's like, it goes back to that conversation we're having when we were discussing like the Warrens and like whether or not Lorraine Warren was clairvoyant or not. And like we're discussing like how like there are people that just, I honestly think that they just have the ability to like see the micro details of the world, that have a better understanding of humanity, or even like literally like are just excellent at reading people. Like they have like it's like a skill set almost. And and we call it clairvoyance. In reality, like they're able to read the world better.
I think of it like this. Like I can't do quantum physics. I can't build.
You could.
I can't do what.
That's the whole point. Could.
I believe
you're not there right now.
The amount of effort and focus and drugs I'd have to be on to get the bare bones of quantum physics down would drive me mad, and I would.
There's not enough Adderall,
and then takes a long time.
You just don't want to do it.
And then there's
there's
dudes.
The difference.
Yeah, and then there's dudes like
racist.
There's dudes like Matt Damon who just know how to do crazy math from the moment he was born, right? Matt Damon's a genius, right? There's dudes that are born with it. Maybe they're born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline, but I can't do it,
dude.
There's born geniuses, right?
Though, you're describing, like the concept of a genius is like super intriguing to me, actually, because like.
All right, let me finish my shit.
Oh, I thought you were done.
So no, so there's those people, right?
Yes.
And they can do that. Even any of us can get the feeling. You ever been in a room and you feel like there's a sketchy dude in here and something bad's about to happen, or when you're walking down the street and you feel that gut feeling like I better go over here or get away from this dude, or that gut feeling, that's innate, that's in us. I have that intuition. Amp that up by 20. People are born with a stronger gut feeling, stronger intuition that can read people even better than I can just at my natural level. Same with like dudes that are just good with fucking math, science, physics, or just the understanding of all that fun education shit that I'm not good at.
Well, dude, I don't want to get down that path, because I could like have a long conversation about that idea you just said, but I do want to say there was a certain scientific article.
What I'm saying? You get my analogy of it, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. But in support of what you're saying, there was a scientific article that came out in Popular Mechanics recently. Popular Mechanics, by the way, they got all kinds of bomb ass shit that's always coming out.
They still have those helicopters in the classifieds, like, build them yourself helicopters.
I don't know. I don't look.
Popular Mechanics always had like at the back of the book, like I had to read it, and at the end it'd be like, this helicopter that you could like get the kit for and then build it in your house. Like now that I'm an adult, I kind of want to get that kit.
Yeah, you should contact him, man. I bet they'll hook you up.
I'd build a small little helicopter. And I'm sorry, Popular Mechanics.
Oh, anyways, it was the article, I believe it was from them, is that there is now scientific proof that shows that human beings can absolutely have a sixth sense. Right, this whole concept of five senses is so like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it was established at one point in time, and then that was it. That was it, right? We got your nose, you can taste, you can see, blah, blah, right? But why is it that they've embedded that into everyone's brains on planet Earth, right? At least in the United States. That's it. You got your five senses, dude. Now you got articles coming out literally like saying scientifically that's not true. So what is that thing, right? It's almost like metaphysical thing. As Huckleberry was saying, it's like people have abilities that are born with that you can't explain, right? Whether it be in math or whether it be in like intuition or whatever it might be, right? Mm-hmm. And you think of the geniuses through time. Think of Einstein. That guy claimed to come up with all these crazy ideas because he would sit there at night and fucking like trip out and like sit there and
Dude.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something there. There's someone has the ability to
No.
tap into some shit, you know?
Dude, no joke. When I was a kid, up until like maybe I could still do it in my early teens, but when I was really young, I'm not joking, dude, I could hear electricity to certain degrees. It was really bizarre. And I didn't always know what I was hearing, but I would like, let's say I'd get home from school, I'd walk in the house, I could hear if like let's say the house is empty, so most of the power's off. If someone left like a bathroom light on, I could hear it. I'm not saying I have like extra,
Like it's like a buzz kind of thing.
Ultra sensory power, yeah. But it would be a buzz. Sometimes it's like pretty prominent, and like maybe you would say a lot of people could hear it. But sometimes it would be so subtle and faint to where like I would, if my mom left her iron plugged in still, like a real faint in my ear, and it would always trip me out. And I didn't know if I would ask and be like, do you guys hear that? I'd ask other people if they could hear it. I'd walk into a friend's house, I could hear something in the back room, and it would be, you know, I can't think of something else besides the light bulb.
No, but I know
one time. Yeah, one time it was the cable box. The TV wasn't on, but the cable box was on, and it gives this fucking hum in my ear. But it was like almost like a dog whistle. Like nobody else would ever hear it but me.
It's kind of interesting.
Wait. The cable box, when you switched it from A to B.
Not that one.
The black box?
I remember that.
That was just the A/B switch.
You'd have to
I meant
A to B.
Oh, absolutely. I know AB. Everybody, that's like if you didn't grow up in that area and you said that shit now, no one would know what the fuck you're talking about.
If you were born from like 1993 and onward, you don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Dude,
I was like
B-side, channel 36B, Playboy channel,
all
36B.
scrambled.
Memorize that one.
I'll never forget.
Dude, the other day I was at work and I was like, these guys were having this stupid argument. It was irritating. And I turned around and I was like, shampoo is better. It makes the hair clean. And like no conditioner is better. It makes the hair silky and smooth. And they looked at me like I was a fucking retard. And like I was like, you guys know what that's from, right? And they didn't know. And I was like, holy shit, dude. Holy
Don't
shit.
even just give up, dude. No one knows shit anymore.
Yeah, it's fucking dude. Do you guys follow that 80s thing on rerun the 80s?
Dude, the thing is so great. I sent that to you, right?
Yeah, you sent it to me. It's so great. It's like every like other day there's something I totally forgot existed, dude. Like
80s babies.
Like the fucking commercial before the cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, that cartoon, that like little cartoon guy, that little commercial or like movies as like Saturday night or Friday night movies thing, like those commercials, like I totally forgot they existed. I was like, holy.
Or the intros to like HBO or something, or like the intros to the movies I completely forgot about.
Well, we were such like, we come from an era of like the highest divorce rate, latchkey kids, right? I was a latchkey kid, divorced kid, like TV and movies, dude. We were the generation of movie lines. Like we communicate that way. That's lost now. Kids, yeah, dude. Blockbuster, like, dude, Friday night Blockbuster, dude. When my mom would take me to fucking the video store, that was huge, bro. Renting a video.
You'd be there for like an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the box candy just like the movie theaters too.
Yeah,
dude.
just like
it was. That was our shit. We come from the movie line era where we communicate with our friends about inside jokes and we talk in movie lines. That shit didn't exist prior or after. Now kids don't even remember what they saw yesterday. They can't
no respect.
No.
Yeah.
A part of me is
fucking tell you, me and my wife, we were happy for 20 years and then we met.
Did you guys watch the Blockbuster documentary on Netflix? Oh, dude, it's so yeah, it's called The Last Blockbuster. There's one Last Blockbuster up in Bend, Oregon that still exists, it's still open, it's still running.
It's probably tight.
and it's all about that one Last Blockbuster. Well, it's kind of about the rise and fall of Blockbuster, the entire corporation.
They tried to
And
do Netflix and they failed, dude.
Dude, so they basically have like a
So,
porn
wait,
star,
wait,
right?
so they talk about that in the documentary. They talk about how
Netflix
Blockbuster
killed him.
how Blockbuster was actually offered to buy Netflix outright, and it wasn't
Yeah.
Netflix
Ooh.
specifically that killed them. It all came around. If you watch the documentary, a lot of it had to do with the crash of '08 that started their
Yeah.
financial demise. And dude, that documentary, man, it brings back a level of nostalgia. Like you almost
Fuck
want to
yeah.
start crying a little bit.
I miss Blockbuster.
Just because people were like, it's done so well. I've watched it maybe 3 times now, probably, honestly.
Why don't you marry it?
Well, people in Bend still go to the Blockbuster to rent movies.
Hey, but you know what? I mean, wouldn't you? I would think that some fools just was caught slipping in that whole thing. It was transition, right? And I remember when Netflix first came out in Las Vegas, and I had a lot of skepticism about it personally. But dude, obviously they knew what the fuck they were doing, and so like someone is like, "Oh, we're gonna stick to the VHS. This is the future of America," and in the meantime, be like, damn, man, all I had to do was this one thing, and I could be a fucking co-owner of Netflix or something, right? Like, I would imagine those fools like Hollywood Video, Blockbuster, whatever. I mean, how is it that those fools didn't come up on some Netflix shit?
Well,
it's weird.
Netflix started out with just DVDs, mailing them to your house.
Absolutely. I had
And
that.
it-
I had
it
neighbors
was-
stealing my DVDs.
It was fucking
motherfuckers.
dude. It was fucking horrible at first because all the DVDs were scratched.
Hey guys, look
Yeah,
where I'm
you'd
at
like-
right now.
You'd like,
Really
Oh,
sick.
Blockbuster.
Oh my god, bro!
What you
Are
got?
in
What's
Tom
those-
Cruise
release section right
What's
now?
the
Here,
one
I'm gonna
behind you?
pick a movie.
That's so
Look at it. They have like all the same movie in that one section.
Yeah.
Like that would be a popular one right
Yeah,
there.
dude, they have like 15 of them.
you get the
Remember that?
movie. You
Uh,
get the movie, and I'm gonna go get the combo large pizza next door at Mountain Mike's.
Oh,
Bro.
And I'll
Think-
meet you. I'll meet you at the Bronco. I'll meet you at the Bronco.
Dude, do you
Mountain
guys
Mike
remember when you'd go in and like, let's say it wasn't like shit, it could be any of them, especially this would happen with video games. Remember going there with your heart set on something and it was gone? They didn't have
Oh,
it, bro?
dude,
What you
gotta
gonna
pick
do?
Plan B.
The rejection sucked.
Yeah, Plan B's always sucked. I always sucked too. It was like you had Friday night or Saturday night, and like your Plan B, C, D, and E weren't there, dude. Because well, there's like and like you all new release section basically gone.
And
I
then
wish I
I'd go
worked
to
at Blockbuster, dude. That would have been a cool job.
I worked at
So-
Hollywood. I worked at Hollywood
There's a
Video for
movie
like
on that.
Did you?
5 months. Yeah, when I was a
Hey.
teenager.
Hey,
Wait, which
me-
one? Which
me
one?
and my
Did you where you
mutual
at, man?
friend, dude.
The one on the south side by the Capitol Drive-In.
Hey,
Oh
me and our-
yeah, we used
our
to have one
mutual
right by
friend
my
who's
house
not,
too.
Dude, I would highly recommend watching the documentary. It is really interesting, really nostalgic. It makes you really want to go back and like you would run into friends from school and you're like, oh, what are you watching? And like it could take you like an hour and a half to pick out a movie, especially if it's like the 4 of us.
I ran a video game.
So in terms of the Salem witch trial,
We should check on
the research that I was doing, I think there's only one house left from that era, and that's the witch house, and that was Judge Corwin, I think is his last name, Judge Corwin. That was his residence, and there's reports of hauntings and all that stuff. But
sure.
if you go in and you look up hauntings in Salem, dude, like every goddamn building and every corner and every bench is haunted in that place.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
for
dude,
sure.
they literally created it with the Salem witch trials. I mean, like for like the ingredients necessary for like from what all like sources point to causes like a haunting type situation.
It's a perfect cocktail.
Yeah, dude, like they literally, it's kind of ironic.
You know what I did is what's the modern day Salem village, which
It's
is
called
where
like Denby or something like
yeah,
Denby.
whatever
Oh,
that place
that's
is.
right outside of it, right?
Well, there's no
Uh,
Salem anymore,
No,
Yeah.
there's a Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah, but it's
but there's
not
no more
Salem
Salem
Village.
Village. It's called like
No, but
Yeah,
there's the town of Salem or the city of Salem.
Sure, that's
yeah,
separate
Salem
though.
exists.
Yeah,
But where this shit went down, like this
it was like
secluded area,
it was
the
like
village.
west. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, but that's what I'm
they
asking.
renamed it.
So besides point, I looked it up. Eventually I had that word, right? And I looked it up and I just for the shits and giggles, I looked up UFO sightings in that town.
Oh yeah.
And it was weird, like there was a weird pattern of UFOs until about 6 years ago. They were getting a lot of UFOs, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And I don't know, based on the interpretation, what I saw in the articles is like whether that's a continuing thing and they try to like shut down the information or Danvers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you look it up, there definitely was this period of time in the early 2000s where they were getting a shitload of UFOs. And so that wasn't something obviously that I went into this in like research thinking, but I just thought of it, you know, what's modern day shit, what's going on over there? And I Googled that and there's a bunch of news articles on that stuff. And it's kind of, you know, I mean, I bet you could probably find that shit anywhere for any city is my guess, but it's still kind of weird. We're like, okay, that shit happened there. And then you have a series of years where there's like massive amount of reports to the government about UFOs, and then it just stops. So to me, that's not just some random weird thing. Like we're many years from many years from the witch trials, and it's a little far-fetched, but is there an association? Could it be that energy, which I believe would be, I think the witch trials themselves and the hangings and the killings created an energy.
Could,
and,
yeah.
You know, and that could
Thinking
that
like the Mayan area, like
yeah,
murder, mayhem, like
absolutely. The energy, I think that people dismiss the energy part. Energy is energy. We're filled with
for
energy.
sure.
And
Well, fuck, we didn't even
you know,
we didn't even look up. Is it on that line? God damn it, I'm missing the terminology. But you know how
you guys probably, that reminds me, what you say is you probably didn't read that fucking article I sent you all a while back about the Earth being a fucking giant crystal pyramid shit.
Oh, that was interesting.
That
Bro,
shit
what?
is crazy. Crazy. And all the lines fall on all the vortexes. That's nuts. Nuts.
Yeah, so no, but is the Salem location one of those on that vortex location or that line?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But you know what? If it was, that would be even more like supporting evidence. Like, but sometimes I feel like a vortex, as we describe it, probably exists independently of anybody living on Earth. But yet, I do believe that energy fields can be created from certain events in space-time history that release energy. And where's the energy going to go? It's going to coagulate to that area. Skinwalker Ranch is a really good example of that. Something happened there. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
something happens.
I've kind of wondered, like, if you took, let's say you took Alcatraz, okay, Island, or let's take Alcatraz Island. The prison is still there. You know, it's a tourist attraction, but let's say that you tore everything down. Now the air on Alcatraz Island, people, I haven't been there, but people say that it's thick. You know, there's hauntings. There's all these reports.
Lots of fog.
Yeah, but let's say you tore it all down, and there was no remnants that it used to be a prison, and violent, horrific things used to happen to people there. If you put somebody on that location, would they still feel some type of residual energy or not?
Dude,
Absolutely, I
I've-
know what you're saying.
Like
I've
I
been
always
there.
wonder, like if
I've been there. It feels
like
it feels weird.
if you're
Yeah,
walking
agreed.
through, if you're walking, if you're backpacking or on a hike or something, and you get that like, weird sense of like, it's something, I'm just feeling off here, something's around me, something's near me.
Yeah.
There's all these Native American like burial grounds all over the place here.
I don't know. I'm susceptible to feeling, dude. I definitely have empathy type energy, and I feel that shit. Alcatraz felt weird, and I was there. Even in broad daylight, it was the afternoon. A couple hundred people on the island on that tour. It's fucking dark, man. It's cold, and you could feel bad shit. Bad shit happened there, man. You could feel it.
I've always wanted to see it, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see it. Like, I don't know what I
It's
don't
not
know
scary.
if
Yeah.
but like, why would you want to go and see a place where people were beaten, tortured, and raped?
Because you're American, you're a dum-dum.
But how about this?
That's what we do, bro.
Okay, let's just. I think what he's
Hey,
trying
anyways,
to say.
go there and do a report there.
Oh yeah,
But-
no, I'll go there for the podcast, 100%. Yeah.
But I think kind of what you're trying to say, what I'm interpreting is like,
Mhm.
let's just like erase the history of Alcatraz, right? Like, let's just demolish the buildings. Let's let 5,000 years go by or whatever, some amount of time where it's like
Right.
no one understood any history there. And so when you go to Alcatraz, I would think most of the time people are going to have already an understanding of like what they're expecting to see. And so that can add to like the emotional like reaction to the situation. But if we just made a random piece of land, but historically there's this whole association with ideas connected with it, and you level it and you say bye, goodbye, erase the history of that part, and then you just bring a person to that place, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
In my opinion, that some things can happen. Like for instance, Skinwalker Ranch, scientific evidence, you about to get blasted by some shit there, magnetic field radiation, some shit, right? But until you come up with that scientific evidence for a place like that, my guess would be random person without no historical knowledge, not necessarily going to feel that effect unless there's something there that we just haven't been verified yet, right? Maybe there is something here. But so it's like, where is the cross of the line, right? Where the psychological effect.
Sure. For
You see
sure.
what I'm saying? Like there is a
Right.
line
Yeah.
somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Look at Amityville, dude, when the fucking that dude murdered his family or whatever, and then like all that weird shit happened there afterwards at a whole new family. It's like the leftover fucking energy from like that occurrence in that
Yeah.
house. It's weird.
Yeah.
But that's a thing, and I think that is a thing,
Right.
man. Energy
Yeah,
gets left over,
Yes.
you know,
I
and
think so, too.
people don't. They just it's the devil again.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys a
And-
crazy story. Happened to me
Wait,
the other
wait,
day.
wait. So and the thing about Salem is, any people who are skeptics are really gonna have the opinion that Salem needs these stories, they need the history, they need the trials, they need the haunted houses.
For
Because
tourism and
dude,
shit.
dude, they're like Google's not there. There's no high tech industry. There's no. What else are you doing there? It's a small coastal town in Massachusetts. They need the tourist attraction,
So
right?
so is it true that that town feeds off tourism now? I don't know about that. Is that a thing?
I don't know what the percentage is, but it is a heavy tourist town, dude.
But I mean, that could be totally beside the point, right? Like that could
Yeah.
be that occurs, but it's occurs
Yeah.
because of rather than
Right.
just to make
Right.
money.
And
Yeah.
and but even besides, even if somebody was a skeptic, the history of the town is really unsettling when you start going through it.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about moving. Where should we go? Yeah. Where they hung all the witches. That's where I've always
Yeah, where
wanted
they-
to live. I was That's my dream spot. We're gonna buy like a 2-bedroom cottage for $5, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna like
We just lost
see
all of our Danvers subscribers because of that comment.
what's those. I don't even know what that is.
Hey, the other day when
That's the new place. That's Salem Village present day. Damn
The
it.
other day when we,
Yeah, right.
when we put our dog down, put like Bob Marley on, real like kind of quiet next to him, and then like fucking she's feeding him ham, and then they gave him the sedative, and then he went unconscious, and then she gave them like the the mutant, whatever they use to stop the heart, and she's like waits about a minute, and then she puts stethoscope over his chest, and then she's like listening the heart slow down, I think, and then she's like the heart stopped, and right when at the time she said stopped, the music stopped on his phone,
There you go.
and then it stopped for about 60 seconds and then just picked back up again.
Yep.
Now, like, you can say, well, yeah, it's probably buffering or whatever, right? But it's like, for it to have stopped at that exact moment.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
coincidence is not very likely, right?
It's just weird. Like, it's a strange thing.
Well,
I was call one time where this pregnant chick hung herself with extension cord in the garage, and I went in the garage, and the iPod turned on while we're sitting there, and fucking the cop said, "You gotta check." The cop was standing behind me. He's like, "You gotta check this shit out, bro." And I turned around, walked over, and looked at the iPod, and like, I forget the band. I'd have to look it up, but it was a punk song called "The Queen Is Dead" was playing. She had 9,000 songs on that iPod, and the song that popped on randomly when we walked in there was "The Queen Is Dead."
That's wild.
It's hard, man. It's a hard one
Well,
because
also, so when my grandfather passed away, the same day, as Yup's first son, the same day that your kid was born, my grandfather passed away, and then I forget the time, but it was in the morning. It was early in the morning, and we realized when we went back to his house, he was in the VA hospital. Then we went to his house, and we realized that the clock in the kitchen had stopped working, and his caretakers who were like taking care of the house said that it stopped at the time that he had died.
Yeah. And more than one person has told me that like they felt like a presence for a period of time. I know my wife said about a year, and she felt that when her pop died, and she felt him there, and then at some point within about it's like 9-10 months like that, it just fucking she felt it end.
That's weird, dude.
wow.
Back to that story of that chick you said, that pregnant chick that hung herself. I mean, talk about, I've heard of abortions, dude, but talk about leaving nothing to chance. That's going for it.
Yeah, it was gnarly, dude.
How pregnant was she?
She was pregnant.
She really wanted that abortion.
There was the worst one was when someone's like, at least like the baby wasn't born, and then like it'd be like a double hanging.
Oh shit!
So it's that shit. Like right when we left.
Such a better joke. That's such a better joke. God damn it! I wish.
People say shit like that. I know it's a compensatory measure because everybody's so upset about seeing that. So
what was the fucking hanging you were on where maybe it was that one, but there was one I think
I know what you're talking about.
That
was just kind of funny story. We went in the garage. It was right around the time that movie The Ring came out. And I was me and a couple cops, firefighters, and we were just pronouncing this chick dead. And I was on my internship. And she hung herself in the middle of her garage by a rope. And we go in, and the TV, I tell you a story already, bro. The TV was on all staticky.
The way you say it, not showing you, like, we're just hanging out about to pronounce this bitch dead. We're just pronouncing people dead.
Yeah, I bet like it wasn't like we're going in there to like cut her down or resuscitate her or anything.
That's what happens on those kind of calls, though.
Dude, when we cut down the pregnant chick, like she had a brand new car seat that was in the garage. Just like fell in the car seat. I remember like because they tried to they fucked up. There was a cop and a fire captain, and they cut her down, and like she landed on this brand new car seat that was there. It was like gnarly story. But the one in the garage was like So like this chick's body just hanging there, and then fucking the TV's all staticky and shit, and freaking there's a lot one bulb hanging, and the bulb burned out real quick, like it went pop, and went out. We're all standing in there, and everybody immediately stopped being a professional, and then just ran for the garage door to get in the house, dude.
They became a teenage white girl in a movie.
Everybody, I was the intern, so they guess like they're always like big dudes, is like pushing me to the back of the group, like I was trying to get in the house.
That's wild.
Anyways,
that was a funny one.
let's talk more about the Salem trials.
All right. I want to rattle off some shit because I don't want it to go to waste.
Let's hear it.
So, you know what tripped me out is a lot of them died by drowning and by hanging. That was the most common. Dude, during just speaking about 1692 to 93, during these trials, none were burned. None of the burning witches at the stake, they didn't do that here. I think that's old colonial times. They probably, the earlier years of witches, existence of witches, none of them were burned. I didn't know that. That was new to me. You know what else tripped me out? So like during this time, that Salem village, like their population was just over 500 people, right? In the town. 150 of them were accused in this 1 year plus period. 150 out of 500 people, dude. That's fucking crazy.
That's kind of like starts getting down to just neighbors don't like you, dude. Like you're like, hey, you walk across my lawn, dude. Fucking
yeah,
witch.
it's basically like I'm fucking sick of Judd. Judd's been pissing me off. This guy. Fucking his wife's a bitch. Fucking put her on trial. Yeah, dude, just left and right. People were getting tossed. It was going down. Like it started out as like the fear of the devil in someone. By the end of it, it was like, oh, they're just not getting along. Oh, they're not They're not coming to fucking church on Sunday like they're supposed to. What's up with that? I bet they're a witch, don't you think? Yep, it's confirmed. Like that simple. They were just pointing a finger and it was on. So there's too many names to mention, but we should name, just to do our due diligence, Sarah Good. She was the first one that was officially accused of being a witch. And she was the one that was said to have had sort of control, her witchcraft over the two young girls. Because they were saying those girls were showing all those symptoms that I rattled off earlier, body contortions, incoherent speak, feeling the pinches and the aches, all this like unsettledness. Anytime they were in the presence, like anytime Sarah Good, they brought her into the courtroom and she was in the same room as those girls, these girls started fucking wigging out. And Sarah Good wasn't even doing anything. She was just sitting there. She wasn't doing any act outs to show control. But when she would leave, the girls were fine. They would rest. When they went home, they would rest easy. But anytime they brought her in for the trials, these chicks started wigging out. So that even more so confirmed this lady's a witch. She's got power over these chicks.
That's so fucked up.
So crazy. What else?
Imagine that shit, dude. Like they're literally like to be so fucking, I mean, like so fucked up to do shit like that. I mean, you maybe even make yourself believe it to like that poor chick, and then ended up with her dying.
Just the fear overall during that entire time of like whether or not you were part of the village or part of the accused, just the amount of fear that was ingested during that time. And dude, you can kind of like, you know, not to bring up certain subjects, but you can kind of see what's going on now in that same hysteria, that same fear building up and boiling up and
blind fear. So back then, like we said, God was not only divine, but that was a definite. God is their definite, right? Blind faith, blind loyalty. It wasn't, it was unconditional love. Like, so if God is no doubt, then to them, Satan is no doubt. And Satan
Yep.
had reached these women, because if God is real, evil is real, which no matter equals witches exist to them, hands down. So they believed in witches, warlocks, wizards.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. There was no
Angels,
like,
angels,
this
devils,
is,
demons.
it wasn't a conspiracy whatsoever. It wasn't like, ooh, did you hear they think? And then people were doubting it. No, there's no doubt. You say someone's a witch, prove it wrong. Basically, I mean, that's what you have to do now, is prove it wrong. Dude, I found out, so like, I don't know when the idea of witches started, but it goes way back to the 900s. In the 900s, like 990, it was assumed to be that all witches were actually men. Witches started out as being an all men thing, because we are the hierarchy, right? We are the elite. Men are smarter. We're more
Historically,
educated.
yeah.
We're historically,
Yeah.
that's how we looked at it, right?
Yeah.
We're smarter, more
then
educated, power, and we're more capable. We're able of doing. So
I'm gonna cut
then-
out anything you said that sounds like you're talking about like back then, and then make that just like a.
you know how like I always said, women are dumb, right?
Yeah.
And like they're dumb, useless.
I'm a man.
fuck toys.
I'm a man who invented the wheel.
So that's how it started, and then and they're actually, obviously, they were more commonly referred to as wizards. They didn't really call them witches so much back then. But then sometime around in the 1400s,
That's right, because wizards wear the pointy hats, dude. Like it's like the same shit.
wizards wore the
traditional
hats.
wizard. Yeah, just like
And-
Mr. Green there.
Exactly. So sometime in the 1400s, it flipped, and then all of a sudden it became like, I don't know if it had to do with any of the practices or like what they were representing, but it somehow flipped, and it became like, oh yeah, women are susceptible to fucking evil and like brainwashing. So that's when it flipped. Now women are dominant in the witches, and you don't really see men being considered witches from then on. In what was it, 1486, I wrote down. They wrote a book called Hammer of the Witches, and that was basically the handbook they wrote to how to point out, accuse, and get rid of
Oh my God, it's awesome.
witches. Like, they figured it out, and it was
Hey. See if we could get that on Amazon, and we'll have that book for our first UFO Daily News book club.
ooh, yeah,
You think
Hammer
about
of the
how fucking
Witches.
crazy that is. The manual.
Everything you need to know. The how to, yeah.
Yeah, the how to fucking like ruin somebody.
Because I bet a lot of those
You know the name of the
tasks
book?
or I bet a lot of the traits that they say to watch out for could directly relate to other people during today's time period.
Dude,